Okay, I'm going to talk about the random external vessel audit policy. Everybody probably knows the Coast Guard came out with their policy letter giving the guidance for the randoms on August 11th of 2022. And then TVIB met with our audit committee to come up with and draft our policy from that. I'm just going to hit some of the key points to explain the policy better so that it's, if you have any questions later, we can go through at the end. But basically, the vessel external audits need to be distributed evenly throughout the 5-year period of the TSMS certificate. So we can't front load them all into the first 2 years or back load them all into the 5th year. We have to have them as evenly as possible as we can throughout the 5 years of your TSMS certificate. Then the vessels that are covered under the TSMS certificate need to be selected at random for the external audit. We couldn't say we're going to do them in alphabetical order. I don't know why you do that. We couldn't do them like COI expiration date. It has to be a little more random than that. Each vessel that's covered receives no less than 1 external vessel audit within the 5-year period of the TSMS certificate. So at the end of the 5 years of your TSMS certificate, 100% of your fleet has to be done and you can't miss it. So the audit should generally occur within 90 days before or 90 days after the scheduled date. So you have your vessel audit random date, you have a 180 day window to get that vessel audited. The reason they did that was because a lot of our carriers have operational unique situations. They close down for a few months of the year, whether nobody wants to do anything during harvest or busy time. So that's basically a 6-month window to get that vessel done. And we feel like you'll be able to manage that. Then there's no requirement for an external audit to be completed prior to the renewal of the COI. So say you had a vessel that was given an audit date in year 3 of your TSMS certificate. That vessel's COI expires in year 1. It's still okay because these are keying all off of the TSMS certificate year dates, not the COI renewal date. So you could go ahead and renew your COI for that vessel, even though you haven't had your external audit yet, because it is slated for an audit in the following year or year 4, or whenever that might be. So when will you receive your external vessel audit schedule? Well, there's 2 ways. Upon the renewal of the existing TSMS certificate. So you have your TSMS certificate, you've done your management audit that's required to renew, we've sent it back to you final, and then we've generated your new TSMS certificate, and that's one of the triggers. Or in the case of a new company that we've got, new TSMS certificate, they signed on with us after August 11th of 2022, they're going to get their schedule immediately upon the issuance of their TSMS certificate. And then how are we going to get these to you? Once the TSMS certificate is sent to you, that's going to trigger Lindsay or I to meet with our operations manager and just ask them if there's any vessel in that fleet that might have some kind of particular circumstance going on that would influence the placement of where it needs to be in the audit dates. And after we have that information, then we populate the audit dates into a listing, send it back to our operations manager for their approval, and then we send it out to the customer. Customer has 10 days to review it and comment. And anything that you would be commenting on would be if you see something glaring that would make it impossible to audit that vessel. You're selling it in 3 days, and it's not even going to be in your fleet anymore. Or it's set for year 1 and it's going to be on a prolonged dry dock and it's not going to be a level of audit. Anything like that happens, just call the operations manager that works with your fleet, and you guys can talk about that and work around it and set up a new date or whatever has to happen with that. So any other considerations during the 5-year period of your TSMS certificate? If you acquire or sell greater than 20% of your fleet, then you can meet with us, ask us to shuffle those audit dates around so that we're still maintaining a consistent, evenly distributed throughout the 5 years, the remainder of the 5 years. And then the last thing is that if you have an audit that's required by an 835, we may count that as your random audit. That's if it's issued to achieve compliance with section 138.315B1 or 2. So if you had a vessel that got a COI and the 835 said this vessel has to have an audit within 6 months of the COI. If you've also gotten your TSMS certificate and that audit falls in year 1, we may be able to use it to count for 2 activities. So we can kill two birds with one stone. It's just that's, first of all, we need made known to us, which is why we need the 835 sent to the notifications email. We need to be made aware of all the things going on with the vessel. And then we might be able to help you hit two activities with one audit.
So Tava, I assume that the definition of random under the system that you all have set up is in line with the Coast Guard's definition of random?
Coast Guard has not defined random, which is one of the issues. What we did do was we convened the audit committee and got together and worked with them to find a logical, reasonable path to achieve this. And so there's one other element that is most likely to happen for some operators, and that is, let's say you get your schedule, but you realize that some of your vessels in year 1 and year 2 operate in the same geographic area. There's an opportunity for that operator to say, can we get these two vessels in the same year so that you can take advantage and get your costs down, maintain your costs, things like that. So everything about the program is designed to work with the operator while still meeting the requirements of the regulation.
So they're still working on what a random.
Nope, they're not going to define it. We
They're
have
not?
asked and asked, and they will not define random.
But what you're doing is acceptable.
Yes.
Very good.